In a dispensary operation, the most employees that you're going to have are going to be customer service employees of some type or another. Either a receptionist at the front, maybe a safety associate or a greeter out front if you choose not to go with security, actual security guards. Some dispensaries have security guards, some don't. If you're going to have security guards, make sure that they're friendly and they smile a lot and they're not real intimidating because it just puts people off. But as far as qualifications for working, you need people with customer service skills. So if you come to me and say, Dave, I'm hiring, I need a job. I worked at Walmart for 6 years, or I worked at McDonald's for 10 years. You might be at the top of my list just for the fact that you kept those jobs. And you must have had good customer service skills if you worked in those jobs for that amount of time. You know, if you went to Amsterdam or you have cannabis knowledge, that's really, really good. If I'm hiring you for the front desk position, I'm probably looking for somebody that might have some medical record-keeping background, because we do have a little bit of record-keeping and things that we do. Not a strict requirement on my part. It may not have to be on your part, because you can train somebody how to do the front desk part where you're checking people in and verifying their patient status, that they haven't expired and things like that. Now, if I'm going to hire somebody as a buyer for my dispensary, now I need somebody that knows a little bit more about customer service, more about strains and cannabis than customer service. Although our customer service skill is still good, because our buyers buy from our patient vendors. And they're essentially, you know, even though we're buying from them, they're still essentially my customer. I want to keep them happy. I want to help them. I want them to be successful, because then I can be more successful. So if I'm looking for a buyer, then I'm looking for somebody that knows a lot more about cannabis. So keep that in mind when you're looking for personnel. Branding is an extremely huge, important part of this business. And finding out for yourself and deciding what your brand is going to be and how you want to brand it are very, very important. And then being consistent with it. Consistent with your logo, consistent with the way you do everything about your branding. You know, you have policy changes and things like that, but you don't want to see things changing. You put up a logo, you know, one day and then a month later you say, oh, I'm going to tweak it, I'm going to change the color on this, and another time you add this and you add that. That's not branding. You know, you got to take the time to figure out exactly what it is you want to brand, how you want to brand it, and stick to your guns. Change as you have to change as, you know, things dictate, but you don't see logos and trademarks from these big successful companies like McDonald's and Coca-Cola. They don't change that often, and there's a reason for that. Frankly, it's a time for opportunity for smaller companies to not only compete, but get set up to have some big company come in and just give you $100, $200, $300 million to buy you out because they like what you got. You know, you heard yesterday that we're probably several years away from having franchises in this industry and be able to do franchises legally, but it doesn't mean somebody can't open several dispensaries and storefront operations to be successful and build a franchise-type model that somebody wants to come in and just buy you out. And maybe you want to be one of those guys that buys out, if not selling out. Some people do that, and other people say, no, I like this and I'm going to keep doing this, or I'm not going to sell to a big company, we want to keep it small. That's okay. But this is the time now for us to do that and to get into that. So that if you do want to compete with them, you'll be able to compete with them and be successful. We won't make as much as money as the big ones. You know, if I start a soda company, I'm not going to make as much as Coca-Cola. I'm not going to open a hamburger joint and unseat McDonald's as the top one. But that doesn't mean that I can't open and compete. You know, Five Guys, In-N-Out Burger, places like this do very, very well. They have a better product. They do great customer service. You walk into an In-N-Out Burger, there's 15 kids in there running around, cleaning the place up and cooking burgers. You go to McDonald's, you got 3 people trying to run 2 drive-through windows and six lanes. You know, so this is the opportunity for us to get in and get involved and be able to do that. One of the reasons I've been successful, I think, and one of the reasons I've never had any problems is I've tried to get along really well with the community. When I first opened up in Lake County, California, and there was no regulation, I opened up in a strip mall in the city of Clear Lake. It was like a 13 or 14 unit strip mall, and it was half empty and half full. There was a tanning salon, a Mexican restaurant, and there was a bar and a pizza place and a couple other little businesses in there. And I went to each one of these businesses after I signed a lease with the landlord to explain to them, to introduce myself and explain to them that I was opening up a medical marijuana dispensary. And everybody welcomed me to the neighborhood. Oh, well, that's really great. We think that's wonderful, except the bartender. The guy that owned the bar. That bar had been there for 30 years. Boy, he was adamant that cannabis and alcohol don't mix. And a lot of people would take kind of a hostile attitude towards that. I was just the opposite. I shook his hand and I said, you know, I think you're mistaken, but either way, we're going to be really good neighbors, and I wish you all the luck in the world. And so I thought about that afterwards, and he told me, I'm going to go talk to the police chief, and I'm going to call the landlord. I said, well, I've already signed the lease. The police chief is next on my list to go and talk to. I just want to come and say hi. So there was no problems, and what I did was I just stayed friendly. Every time I saw him, I said hello, and when I swept out in front, I would sweep up front out each day, or have one of the employees sweep the front walk, I made sure I sweep the business in front of me, on each side of it, in front of the business. The bartender was on the right, the restaurant was on the left, and they really appreciated that, especially the bars, because they always had the drunks out there smoking their cigarettes and dropping their cigarette butts on the ground. He'd come out to sweep, and it would already be done, you know. And then he found out that my patients would come in to me, they'd buy something, and they would go next door to the bar to have a drink. Sometimes they would go next door to the Mexican restaurant, or they would go to the pizza restaurant. Everybody in the strip mall business went up after I went in there. We didn't have any crime, we didn't have any problems. And it didn't take but about 3 months when me and that owner of that bar were best friends. He told me, he says, Dave, I said, I was wrong about you. He says, you're all right. You know? I said, what do you mean? He says, well, I thought this was going to be a huge problem, but you know, we share customers and everything's going good. My business is up, and you know, I was just wrong. I said, well, I appreciate that. You know, I said, I knew that things were going to be okay. And it's really important. Get together with the local community. Fund local projects. Go to the Lions Club, the Rotary Club, the Elks Lodge, the Moose Lodge, especially when you're first trying to get your permit and you're trying to set up, or you're trying to convince a city or a community to even write an ordinance, adopt an ordinance so you can apply for a permit. These are great networking opportunities. Get involved with these organizations. They have fantastic political units most of the time. You go to your Rotary Club, your Lions Club, these guys are already politically active. They get out and they get petitions, and they get people signing up to fix this street lamp or this corner, or let's put a park over here. They do a lot of community service. Go out, have your staff go out and do some of that community service. Volunteer to cook the pancakes at the Lions Pancake Breakfast. Volunteer to buy the pancakes. Volunteer to sponsor their breakfast. This is a great way to get the community on your side, and frankly, you're going to mine customers from it, because who makes up the Lions Club and the Rotary Club and things like that? The AIRP crowd. You don't see the skateboarders down there at the Lions Club hanging out with their skateboards and listening to their hip-hop, rap music and all that kind of stuff. No. It's the people that are going to be mostly coming to our dispensaries and our recreational stores anyway. So this is a good idea. Get with the community, be an active member of the community. If you know that you're going to apply for a permit in a city or in a county, you know, and you know that there's time, you put your thing together, you wait for some vote to pass or something, start going to the regular council meetings or the county's board of supervisors meetings ahead of time. You don't have to say anything, just be there and be seen. You know, and then when you come up and you say, hi, my name's Dave McCullick, and I'd like to apply for a permit to dispense cannabis in your city. You're not just some hippie dude coming in trying to make money selling weed. You've been an active part of the community. They know you. This is really, really important. This is extremely important. You've got to be out there in a positive way. All right?